Social Media University. All right, Michael, I'm super excited to pick your brain because I may work in social media every single day, but you're building your own social media. So, real quick, can you give yourself your the elevator pitch of who Michael is and what brought you to the point you're at now?
Sure. Yeah, I'm super excited to be here, Ben. Thanks for having me on. So I'm Michael. I'm the founder and CEO of Entre, which is a social network for entrepreneurs and the future of work. So we just strongly believe that the future of the economy, the future of work is going to be looking a lot different. It's going to be much more entrepreneurial, freelancer based, creator based. And we're building the hub for all these people to come together to connect and start businesses and grow businesses and really build kind of their own path, whatever that may be. So we have a lot of different types of entrepreneurs, from startups to freelancers to solopreneurs, content creators, e-com bloggers, all sorts of stuff. And we have different tools and resources and sections on the app to, help different types of entrepreneurs out.
Okay, and you were formerly an engineer, right? So what made you want to make that transition from more of a corporate environment to building your own thing?
Yeah, so I used to be a civil engineer,
Okay.
and yeah, it was pretty wild. At the end of the day, it got to the point where I just was kind of going through the motions, and I had a lot of ideas. I was very curious about business and entrepreneurship, and I just decided kind of to take that step into it a little bit deeper. And once I got a little taste of it, I never stopped, and I just became addicted to working for myself and being creative. I think a lot of people's creativity gets destroyed throughout, education, college, and then eventually, when they get into their careers and stuff. So keeping that creativity alive gave me a whole different perspective on life and being able to create things and build things and innovate, which made me personally much more happy. And it was kind of like I was able to find myself too through this process as well, which hasn't been easy, but it's been quite the journey. But I'm way better off now, and with where I'm at and where I'm going, and kind of living that true version of myself to the fullest potential.
Yeah, I can definitely resonate with that. And I think like a lot of people listen to this are definitely entrepreneurial people. And when you have that itch and then you scratch it, it's impossible to stop doing so. So I can totally relate with that. But you didn't just try entrepreneurship, like you took on a big thing. Like I've thought about maybe like, oh, this is what I would change about a social media platform. But like what goes into creating your own and why?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it was I never really originally wanted to go down this direction, right? So what led me to starting Entre was my own desires to want to meet and connect with other entrepreneurs. Because when I left my engineering job, which I definitely wouldn't have done knowing what I know now, I would have started to actually make money and have something going. I just left, and quit without any net revenue or any income coming in, really. So it took me a lot longer to figure things out. But I didn't know any entrepreneurs. No one in my family was an entrepreneur. None of my friends were entrepreneurs. So I was out there on the internet trying to figure out how the heck to start a business, how the heck to make money online, all of this stuff. And I was like, why is there not a place that everyone just knows, oh, if you want to be an entrepreneur, go here. There's a community, there's resources, you can find co-founders, you can get investors, you can set up your company if you need to. There's people that can help you in different sectors, there's mentors there. And as I started like diving deeper into it, there's a lot of like small communities or private communities or paid communities for entrepreneurs where they're local, but there's not really a free public platform. And then when you dive deeper in how many people consider themselves entrepreneurs now and how many entrepreneurs there are around the world, there's over 500 million. I actually think there's more, the number is actually closer to 1 to 2 billion people that are entrepreneurs around the world. But it's hard to get the actual stats on this. And I saw the opportunity to actually create not just a membership site or an online community, but actually a whole new social platform for all these individuals that was actually built and designed for entrepreneurs rather than having to use different social platforms that aren't really built for them. But they use them anyway, right? Entrepreneurs are all over, on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and all over the place, but there's nothing really built for them. So it kind of just all clicked together. And, there's a lot of layers to that, in the getting into the tech side, because that's what a social platform is. I mean, it's an application and there's a lot of heavy tech that's involved with it, especially when you're building out iOS, Android, and then a web app. So that was a whole new learning curve for me. And, but you have to start small and you have to really pay attention to what people want. Because a lot of people build stuff and they think they know what people want, but they really don't. And so uncovering that is a key insight to building anything, especially a social platform.
Yeah. And thing I love most about that story is that your business came from a pain point that you had, and you went to actively solve that. And there's a ton of people listening to this right now who fall into that boat of being an entrepreneur and wanting to connect with more. So if you haven't already, be sure to go download the app. It's linked in the show notes of this podcast. So go ahead and do that. Do yourself a favor. And the next question that I have for you is, like, obviously you could talk for probably days about what goes into making a social media platform, but like in layman's terms, what are the steps that you need to go through to start building a social media app or platform?
100%. So first thing is like, and this is really most businesses, but I'll break it down also for specifically if you want to build an app or a social platform or community, right? First thing's obviously the idea, right? But then you have to validate the idea as fast as possible. So you have to figure out, will anyone even sign up for this? So the first thing that you could do for that is message people, have people fill out a form, have set up a simple landing page with a wait list for like, hey, join this community or sign up to get early access to this. If people will actually put in their email and you're getting hundreds, thousands of people signing up for this, then you know you're onto something. If it's like pulling teeth trying to get people to even sign up for a wait list or something like that, or just put in their email, then you know you probably need to switch up the offering or create something a little bit different, right? So the first thing is you got to get interest, right? If you don't have interest, you need to get interest because that's where the whole thing starts, right? And you want to pick a vertical, you want to pick generally something specific, but most of these platforms, these social platforms, they are built around kind of a core feature that no one has, right? First, and then it's very broad. So you need to it depends on what you want. If you're trying to build the next big $1 billion plus company social app, you need to build more of a feature that everyone can use. If you want to build a community, right, an online, social community or something like that, you need to first pick an industry or a niche or a topic to focus on. If you're trying to go the $1 billion route, look at what Snapchat did with, sending messages that disappeared. No one did that, right? Very unique, but it was broad enough that they could get millions and millions of users. If you look at a more recent case, Clubhouse, right? Audio rooms. No one has done that. Very unique feature, right? Pretty much. It's not really complicated, but it's a unique feature that was broad enough that millions of users could join. So depending on the route that you're going, you either need to build a very specific feature that differentiates you, or you need to build it out as a niche or a topic or a focus that differentiates you, right? So, that's kind of the thing that you need to decide first and foremost. Then validate the idea. Then start building out your prototype and really listening to your users. I posted this, I forget, a couple weeks ago. I wrote down like 12 steps, like exactly how to build an app. And it's everything from what I just explained. That's more of the beginning of it. Then you go into prototyping. Then you go into UX UI. Then you go into setting up your back end. Then you go into testing that with your beta users, updating it, do quality assurance, and do all your testing, and really build a community around your early adopters. And then it's just iterating. But if you don't have the first thing down, the rest doesn't mean anything. So I think people try to spend too much time putting together the complete picture rather than just focusing on the beginning and getting that right really, really well first.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And any social media platform, the value lies in the user and the user base. So that's genius to penetrate with one specific unique offering, because that lends to people spreading it for you, right? Like if there's
100%.
one place where they can go for something that's unlike anything else, people are going to do it, and they love talking about it because people love being the first to discover something, especially if it provides even a slightly unique point of value. So that's amazing. You nailed that.
Exactly. And it's weird too, because for us, we're kind of in a weird spot because we're doing a little bit of both, right? We are, in a sense, niche and focused on entrepreneurship, business, personal development, but it's still broad at the same sense, and we're adding in unique features along the way. But it's tailored to a specific audience. So we're kind of pulling in a few, and there's other people that can do that. If you are building something in an industry that can reach and get to millions and millions of users, then you can kind of add a little bit of both of those, like the feature set, but also picking something niche at the beginning that can scale into other sectors, right? Because at the core, we believe that we can actually grow into a larger platform eventually in 5-10 years than LinkedIn, because entrepreneurship is going to grow and expand and penetrate into everything. And the future of work is going to look a lot different. In the 9-to-5 lifestyle, corporate professional lifestyle is dying. And this other, new wave of entrepreneurship, freelancing, and the creator economy is thriving. So if we capture that audience now, as all these new people come into the workforce, we're going to eventually take over. It's going to take time, but that's how we're looking at it.
Amazing. So that was going to actually be my next question: is what are those unique features to Entre?
Yeah, totally. So right now, what we've built, and this is really our first version, right? We're rolling out version 2.0 very soon. The first version is really a base social platform, right? We have basically all the features that any other social platform, in particularly LinkedIn, right? Where you can create posts, you can do text, images. We're rolling out videos soon, but you can't post videos yet. You can post jobs, you can post events, you can filter people and content by industry, location, by title, and our search is very intuitive. You can also message people directly or within groups as well. What we're adding on right now are these new networking features and event features, right? Where people will actually be able to not only host events on our platform rather than like Zoom or Hopin or another online event software, but they'll also be able to host live audio rooms similar to Clubhouse, and also do one-on-one on-demand networking too. So you'll be able to go onto Entre, click a button, and get matched with another user online for a 10-minute one-on-one audio session. And that's something that no one has really done, right? So, and not many people know about this either, but it's kind of, if you can imagine something similar to an audio version of Omegle for business, right? And that sitting on top of a platform allows users to, if they have time to network and they want to genuinely meet new people, we believe that this is going to create the ultimate networking platform for entrepreneurs, and really anyone that's in business will eventually be using us to make those connections.
That is crazy, man. My mind was just blown right there, because that was like how I view that is that's like the ease and convenience of using like Tinder, but for a professional network environment where you can actually connect via audio. Like that's insane to me, because the reason why I started the show 3 years ago was exactly for that. So had that existed, I don't even know if I would have started the show. I probably would have just gone there.
Yeah, and the thing too is, so we're going to be building out filters too, so you could actually set your preferences on who you'd like to meet, and then we'll be able to try to match you with those particular people. Um, we may or may not have a swiping feature in the future for not necessarily on demand. What we're really looking to do is how can we create this where people can go on and instantly start meeting people. The problem with Tinder and some of these other platforms is
To
you have to go back and forth. They might, not see it, and then a few days later they're coming back and leaving a message, and then a couple of days later the other person's leaving a message. So it's not in real time. And when it's not in real time, then you can lose it, and people might miss it. So we actually think that a lot of people, a lot of industries, especially dating, is actually going to copy our model where eventually Tinder or Bumble or another new startup will roll out a similar feature, but just for dating. So
mm,
you just go on and you click a button, you'll get matched with a girl or a guy instantly in an audio session. You'll get to know them. And if you like them, then you can get matched with them or message them afterwards. So I think there's a lot of things changing with social, and as Clubhouse has evolved and some of these other platforms, this is clearly the direction that the future of social networking is going. Is this on-demand networking and on-demand virtual networking and stuff? And we want to be the leader in this before anyone else.
yeah, if that's executed, that will absolutely be industry changing and game changing at large. Because like a lot of people have gravitated towards Hinge as of late because it makes that like slightly easier, that connection piece, because
Yep.
there's a way in. Whereas this takes it to the whole other level, or a whole other level, because it's instant. So I absolutely
Exactly.
love that. I'm excited for that personally. So when building out these platforms, like especially with all these things that you're planning to add in, people are always mystified by algorithms, and that buzzword is everywhere. So what goes into building an algorithm for a social media platform?
Mm. Great question. Yeah, I mean, ours is not that sophisticated right now. However, it's one of the things that's has separated TikTok from everyone else up to this point, and creating at the core, it's figuring out how can you create the best experience possible for each and every user, and a personalized experience, the best personalized experience for each and every user. So when they come on, they're immediately not only getting suggested connections and people that they should meet, but also content that they should meet. So we're a little bit of both. We're not just content. Like TikTok is mostly, let me put in front of your face as fast as possible the type of content that you want.
Mm,
Right? For us, it's like, yes, let's put together the content that you want, but we also are much more, like we're a lot deeper than that, meaning we need to understand how can we also at the same time put the people that you want to meet in front of you. So to create the best possible personalized user experience for them, we need to actually not only deliver content for them, but also people that they're interested in. And people not only based on location, but industry, and then also title. So when you come into Entre during our short onboarding, you're answering a question that says, what are you looking for? That could be investors, that could be co-founders, that could be developers, freelancers, partners, whatever. And based off of those things, where you're located and what industry you're in, we can then very, very easily deliver the type of content and people that you're looking for. So a lot of these other platforms, social platforms, don't really do a great job of asking the right questions during onboarding that can simplify the process later. So with our For You page, we're going to be able to deliver content very easily based on your profile and what you filled in. And it's not like we're doing any weird things that would steal your data or privacy or anything like some of these other platforms do. This is all just what you put on your profile, and the industry you're in, what city you're in, and what you're looking for. And with that, we're going to be able to deliver you and streamline the process of allowing you to meet the type of people that you want to meet and see the content that you want to see. With the algorithm and ranking stuff, that's an entirely different thing in and of itself, right? Because how do we get the best content to the top, right? And it's not so much us, it's how can the community and the network get the best content to the top. So for us, it's more of a ranking system similar to Reddit, where we have upvotes, and then right now it's a combination of upvotes plus the comments, and then over time, right? And then eventually we're about to roll out comment upvotes too. So on comments they can have upvotes too, and then we'll add those into the score that will then rank them on the For You page. So it's actually going to be user generated what is trending eventually. It's almost a user generated algorithm. But right now we generate a score, and then over time, basically every 2 hours, that's your score decreases. So unless you're continuing to get upvotes and comments, your score will go down, and then that way the newer content will always kind of filter to the top of the trending. So that's a little about how we're doing it. It's a little bit differently than some other platforms that are specifically just focused on content and just like reach, right? We're actually being very cautious about the type of content that people are seeing and that's involved on our platform. Within our community guidelines, like we're actually removing content that's not around these topics, right? Because we wanted to create a safe place for entrepreneurship, right? That's what it's about. If the content or whatever that's happening, rooms, events, all of that, if it's not around entrepreneurship, business, personal development, or health and wellness, it's against the community guidelines. So we're able to remove that. So you won't have to worry about seeing politics or BS news or religion stuff or any of that. It's all just about personal development, entrepreneurship, business, to make it a lot easier for people who just want that and they don't want the noise of all these other platforms.
So that partially answered the next question I have for you. But previously in this conversation, you'd said something quite bold, and you said, and I love it, you said that you see or the potential for Entre to become bigger than LinkedIn. Can you speak to why this is the place to be for entrepreneurs and why it will continue to be?
For sure. So at the end of the day, the core thing that's separating us from most of these other platforms, and this is where I think the future of social networking is going to be, and why the potential of the current platforms continuing to be the largest might not be true over the next 10 years. And it all comes down to customer experience and customer service. So if you look at the top entrepreneurs in the world, right, and how much they obsess over the customer, and if you listen to any of Jeff Bezos's interviews and stuff, he's always just, how can we create the best customer experience? How can we create the best customer service? All of that model, that idea, those principles have not been infiltrated into the social networking industry at all. No social media platform. Can I swear on this, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, so no social networking company gives a fuck about their users. They do not care about them at all. They have no customer service. They have no support. Well, they do, but it's terrible. You fill out tickets and maybe you'll hear from someone eventually. No one knows who works there. No one interacts with anyone from the company. They don't do any events. No one ever, exchanges conversations with people from the companies. It's this very Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. We're going to let you use our service, but then we're going to steal all your data, and you don't really know what we're doing behind the scenes, and you can't even reach out to us if you have a problem. So that idea is going to die very soon. And the companies that don't get that are not going to be around for much longer, in my opinion. So the way that we're doing it is, at the core, we genuinely care about our users. That's first and foremost. And we have everything in play to make them feel like this is actually a community, and you know who we are, and you can reach out to us and we'll be there. And we have community managers, and you can come to our events and you can interact with people on the team, and you can ask questions and we'll respond. And there's that level of feeling like they're actually a part of something rather than just a user, right? It's really weird how it is, but and that's why I don't really like the word user. I like more of like a member of the community better, because it's not, it kind of has a negative connotation to it in a lot of ways. But so that at the core is why I believe that will be successful. Not to mention the amount of features, functionality, design, usability, user experience that we're going to have that will be far superior to any of these other platforms, right? So we're going to be able to provide so much more to people for so much less than LinkedIn. They charge so much money for people just to post jobs on their platform, and they're making a ridiculous amount of money, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but they're not understanding the pain points of the small guys, the entrepreneurs that are just starting out. They don't have any money, or they're just a solopreneur or a small business. No entrepreneur or small business owner or freelancer or whatever is ever going to post a job on LinkedIn or use their sales navigator or anything, because it's way too expensive. It doesn't justify. So they have to use Upwork or Fiverr or AngelList, or hit people up on Instagram or TikTok to find someone to do work, because it just doesn't make sense. And it's not built for entrepreneurs. No one's going to go to LinkedIn to start a business. They're going to go there to find a job. Nothing wrong with that. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, come to Entre. It's what we've built for, right? And there's a lot of companies that are understanding how much community is important to this, and how much it's important to their company as a whole. And I believe we're going to be able to be one of the leaders in that, over the next 10 years, that will eventually help us become a major player, if not the major player in the business networking.
You're spot on with that answer. And I was laughing while you were saying it, because as someone who makes a lot of content about these social media platforms, you would not believe how many people reach out to me assuming that I work for them, because I've helped them in more ways than their platform has specifically, and they can't get a hold of the platform. So I think that's spot on,
Right.
and that people will be very refreshed with, if they do have an issue, that they'll actually be heard from, because it is like you're looking, you need a lottery ticket to hear back from a lot of these platforms, which is just
Exactly.
truly nuts. So you mentioned that you don't
Yeah.
like the word user base, so I won't call it that. How are you guys currently growing a member base?
Yeah. I appreciate that. And yeah, it's, it's one of those things where, you have to use industry terminology, but, at the core, we have a deeper connection, with our users and members. But, right now, how we're growing is very organically, right? And we're using, actually, and leveraging all the other social platforms to our advantage right now. And we're going to continue to do that. And it's not like within our platform, we want to show people how to use other social platforms for their business as well. Like, it's not that we're necessarily against them. There's just different ways to use different social platforms. And as entrepreneurs, you need to be, in a lot of places depending on your audience, right? So right now, since we're targeting younger entrepreneurs, we're kind of in a lot of places because everyone's online now. Our best channels have been TikTok, Instagram, Clubhouse of recently for sure, and then we leverage our events a lot. So our events always bring in new people because they're sharing it all over the place, and things like that. But we definitely leverage other social platforms a lot. And there's nothing better for organic reach right now than short form video content. So TikTok Reels and YouTube Shorts has, that's been our best organic reach by far, for actually like acquiring users and stuff like that. It's just a lot of networking. I use Twitter a lot because that's more of like the tech startup scene, since that's kind of like what we're in as well. And it's a combination of putting out content, but you also want to inherently have the product speak for itself. So, right now, that's why we're so focused on the product. The product is everything, because if the product is really, really good, people will share it. Like Clubhouse hasn't had to spend a dime on marketing because the product was great, and they got a lot of high level people on it early. I mean, if it was just an ordinary company that started Clubhouse, they probably wouldn't have been able to scale as fast as they did, but they were smart about it. They're a classic Silicon Valley company that raised $10 million and, with 1,000 users, and got Andreessen Horowitz and other people on it. But they have a great product that is inherently viral and people will talk about, and they just leverage that a lot. So that's a part of it too. And we haven't really been pushing too much marketing. We haven't really done too many paid ads. This is all going to start coming as we go from like 20,000 users now to 100,000 in the next couple of months, and then 1 million hopefully by the end of the year.
Wow.
It's leveraging the product, word of mouth, at the same time pumping different social content, because we're not, the Clubhouse like company. We want to do things differently, and we also want to have our users and the members of our community be part of it, which is why we decided to open up a crowdfunding round too, so that they can invest and actually own what will be equity in the company too. So it's going to be, it's been really exciting. We're going to continue to do that too. And I think there's no one that I want to make money with us than our users and our members, right? So I don't want to keep making the same old rich white people from Silicon Valley more money and more rich. I want to make our users and our early adopters wealthy from this. And I think we're able to do that through some of these other vehicles. And I'm actually very bullish on equity crowdfunding as a whole sector, because
Mhm.
SEC just increased the metric from 1 to 5 million, how much you can raise. And I think a lot of people are going to start doing that, especially B2C companies too.
So where can people access this who may be interested in doing that?
Yeah, I mean, we actually have a partnership with WeFunder. They're the largest, and any startup in our network gets a discount on that. The big ones are WeFunder, Start Engine, Republic. These are equity crowdfunding. So most people have probably heard of Kickstarter, maybe Indiegogo. Those are
Mhm.
more rewards-based crowdfunding, or kind of like pre-sales, essentially. So you're like buying the product before it's out and helping them make the product, essentially. Equity crowdfunding is more along the lines of micro angel investing in startups. So most of them, you get equity or you get a safe, which means you get future equity once they price the round, which is very common for accelerators and early stage investing. And this opens the door for a lot of people to have early equity in some of these tech companies. I mean, people made so much money off of the companies who just went public recently, like Airbnb and DoorDash and all these. But no one could invest in those unless they were an accredited investor up until late. Meaning you have to have 1 million in net worth or make $200,000 for the last 2 years consecutively, plus get access to that deal, which
Mhm.
is in of itself nearly impossible to do, since all of them come from San Francisco and the tight knit networks. So this is really democratizing access to startups, access to early stage investing, where anyone can invest $100 into a startup, right? And I think it's going to open up a lot of doors. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how everything plays out over the coming years with this.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out for sure. That's super interesting, and I think that's a great solution to a current problem. So you mentioned that this isn't something that you guys are running with now, but when you first started out, how did you handle funding in general? Because obviously all these things cost money.
Yeah, no doubt. Building apps is not cheap.
No.
There are a lot of no code tools and things like that that you can build an MVP on or a website on and stuff for very cheap. And I recommend everyone start with that, right? You should start by building just a website, go into a no code platform like Bubble or Dalo or something like that and get a, simple basic app built and, test out, does anyone even want this? But once you know that, you need to start building out your own technology, your own IP, and everything, because you can build a solid 6, 7, 8 figure business on just a website or a third party platform or something like that. But if you're trying to build 100 million, billion, multi-billion dollar company and go public, you need to have your own tech. You need to have your own IP and all of that, right? So, what was the original question? I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent there.
How did you handle like the initial funding to get the
Oh,
ball
fun.
rolling?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so originally when I got into all this, I just started with a membership site, right? And then I was like, when I saw this, I was like, shit, we need to build out like an app and our own tech and all the stuff that I just talked about. And I needed to figure out a way to make money at the same time as we were building out the technology. And that's when we started doing events. So I started
Mm.
doing events in Pittsburgh, partnering with co-working spaces like WeWork, Spaces, Industrious. Eventually, they introduced me to people in New York, started doing events there. One of my partners had a connection at Microsoft. We started doing events with Microsoft. And then we ended up over a year expanding to 12 cities. So that allowed us to generate revenue and start building out the app, right? And start getting things going. And start building the community so that when the app was ready, we could just hit up everyone that was at our events and say, hey, here's the app now, right? So that's how we approached it. As we started scaling the events, we started obviously talking to a lot of angel investors and stuff. We ended up raising so we've raised a little over 250K to date. We raised a little under we raised like 185 before the WeFunder campaign, and those came through literally just people that we met through our events. And that's why I tell people all the time, like literally just getting to know people and networking is huge. And podcasting is a great way to do this, like what you're doing, and anything else. If you're trying to raise money, it's really about building the relationships and the trust with the people, right? And if you can do that, then you're going to be able to, bring on investors into your company and build these relationships. But all of our investors and advisors and stuff are in this because they understand where we're going with this. They see the potential and they also want to be part of it. They genuinely want to give back to entrepreneurs. And that's the whole philosophy from the company. I don't want anyone working with us, whether they're investor, advisor, employee, whatever, unless they want to build the largest network of entrepreneurs in the world and genuinely want to help and support entrepreneurs, period. So that fit really well with the investors that we brought on. And like I said, it was really just meeting them, networking. I've met thousands of entrepreneurs and investors over the last few years, and a handful of them invest, right? And you build deeper relationships with people. And then as they see what you're doing, they're going to start asking more questions, and then they're going to start getting to know you, and they're going to want to start backing you if you're networking to its fullest. So it was very natural for us. Kind of at the beginning, I've obviously heard a lot of no's, talking to investors and stuff, but from the beginning, we've also kept the idea of being lean, making sure, we're able to, no matter what, continue growing and continue on. We've been smart about equity. We've been smart about hiring. We don't want to put things too far. There's a caveat to raising too much money and, doing too much too fast. That can actually hurt you a lot if you're not ready for it. So we've taken things relatively, we're moving really fast, but we're also taking things slow so that when we make this next push, we're going to be able to maximize that with everything that we need.
I love that approach. Well, making money while still building everything, that's amazing. I'm sure it allowed you to do a lot that you've done. So you've provided me with a ton of things that I want to look more into afterwards. And also, I've never been more excited about being on Entre. So if anybody out there listening to this or watching this wants to connect with you a little bit more, maybe learn more about the product, where should they go?
Yeah, it's just joinentre.com. I'm always on there. They can hit us up. And then our social is just at joinentre too.
Yep.
We're pretty active on every platform as well. And yeah, I mean, it's totally free. They can look it up in the app stores too. It's just Entre on there. But if you do join Entre, it should come up anyway.
Sweet.
And yeah, it's spelled just like the beginning of entrepreneur. Entre. And I mean, I'm always happy to, follow up with people, help people out. We do a ton of events. We do office hours. We do pitch competitions. We do panels. We have a ton of stuff going on all the time. We're going to be doing even more as we roll out our rooms feature, which we're really excited about. And we'll be hosting a ton of rooms around a bunch of different topics. We're going to be bringing in CEOs, venture capitalists, angel investors all the time. Some of our investors are going to be hosting rooms on there every week too. So there'll be a lot of stuff going on and plenty of stuff to do on Entre.
Amazing. All right. So all of those things that Michael just mentioned will be linked in the description, as well as Michael's personal socials as well. So be sure to go download the app, connect with him. I just want to thank you so much for coming on today. It was a pleasure to pick your brain, and I'm excited to see where this whole thing goes.
Yeah, no, it was great, Ben. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I'm excited to see how everything ends up being too in the coming months and coming years. We're really excited about it. Glad to have you involved in the network too, and you're doing a great thing here with this podcast as well.
Appreciate you, man. Yeah, I'm super excited. It's gonna be big things, and I know it for sure.